Today, myself, Harley Breen, will talk you through the story of the great explorers, Burke and Wills. Up your bum. So it's 1860, and we want to run a telegraph right through the heart of Australia, right up the guts of it, right through from Melbourne, right up to the top, sort of like the NBN, but quicker. Problem is, at that point on the map, the middle bit still just had NFI. And people were like, what's happening there? And everyone, I was like, no fucking idea. I don't know what's happening there. Now, you'd imagine that they would get an explorer. Well, they did not in this case. What they got was a middle-aged man who was a police constable, Robert O'Hara Burke. Let's drink to him. Burke's offsider at that point was a guy named Landals. Landals was he was the camel expert. So camels is the Landal expert. Landals is the camel expert because, for starters, he'd seen one. And he decided that if camels went into the desert, they would get scurvy unless they drank rum. I don't know if you know much about scurvy, but it's usually happens because of a low intake of vitamins. And as anyone knows, rum is full of vitamins. Burke's amassed his team, and there's, 19 blokes. There's 6 wagons, there's 26 camels, and 270 litres of rum. They also took a hardwood cedar dining table. You know, for those moments when you're in the desert and you want to sit around with your friends and have a formal dinner, and a Chinese gong. Burke actually was like, oh, never before has an expedition ever been so well equipped. You've got a Chinese gong, mate. You're very well equipped. That's a gassy beer. On the 20th of August, 1860, 15,000 people amass in Royal Park to see these guys off on their expedition. So, by the first night, they had made it as far as Moonee Ponds. Now, if you're not sure of how far Moonee Ponds is from Royal Park, Google Maps says it's a 58-minute walk. Considering the amount of rum they had on board, that is a very swift walk with a kebab in your hand. So Burke's like, you know what? We're done. That's too much rum. We're getting rid of it. And Landals is like, no, my camels will get scurvy. And Burke's like, yeah, where do you reckon that they get rum in the wild? They're a wild animal. And Landals is like, you know what? I'm gonna start a new group called Peter. I'm out of here. Which is great, right? Because this is the way that my boy, William John Wills, can get involved. Fuck, I love beer. So now Willsy's on board, and they head out, and 2 months later, from the start of the expedition, they make it to the township of Menindee. It's taken 2 months to get to Menindee. The mail cart gets here in 1 week. It would have been quicker to fucking climb into a chest and post ourselves here. Finally, they hit Cooper Creek. Burke and Wills are arriving all triumphant. We've made it to the furthest distance that any European has made it. There's local indigenous people in Cooper Creek. Just a group of blackfellas going, what the fuck? We've been here for thousands of years. Why would you think you needed to bring that shit? At that point, Burke, in a rare moment of sanity, is like, I think we've got too much stuff. So he drops some of the men, some of the carts, some of the food, some of the camels, keeps the gong, seat at table. Just before they go, Burke says to this other bloke, his name's William Bray, he says, Brahahi. Brahe. Bro. He says, bruh, you stay here, because we're just gonna pop up to the Gulf. And if you just stay here for 3 months, that's all it's gonna take us. It'll be fine. And if we're not back by then, well, you should go. And heads into the unknown abyss that is the Never Never of the middle of this country, with Wills, John King, Charles Gray, and a couple of camels. 59 days later, they get kind of to the ocean. The truth of it is, for the last 4 or 5 days, they wade through mangroves and can't actually see open ocean. And Burke is like, let's call it. We did it. We saw it. I mean, this water here is clearly ocean water, and they turn back. But at that point, they had 27 days of food left. Do the maths. 59 days to get from Cooper Creek to the top. 27 days of food left. And if from that maths, you think they ate the camels, you'd be correct. They absolutely ate the camels. Brahahi, he's back at the depot. Whatever his name is, doesn't matter. So he's like, we're out of here, we're going. So all the team are like, let's get out of here, we're gonna go back to Menindee. Someone throws up a bit of protest. You can't just leave them here to die. He's like, well, let's bury some food. So they find a tree, they dig a hole, they bury some food, cover it up, and then they carve into the tree the word dig with an arrow. Even Burke will be able to figure that out. Brahahi leaves. The 4 explorers are out there trying to make their way through the desert. Grey dice. Burke, Wills, and King, they arrive at the dig tree 9 hours after their team has left. And Burke, he's like, hey, no, I'm smart. I'm an explorer. I know what I'm doing. We won't go back to where we came from. Why don't we go forward to a location I've heard of called Mount Hopeless? Well, understandably, Wilsey is like, oh man, what are you talking about? Surely Menindee is better. Burke's like, no. I reckon Mount Hopeless, it's got a real ring to it. So he writes a note and he's like, hey guys, no idea why I'm in charge, but we're going to Mount Hopeless, lol, come find us. plops that in the ground. So at this point, right, our heroes of the story, the names we all know are heading that way. Brahe, or Bro, or Bray, Brahe, Bro. He's heading that way. He bumps into some guys with some supplies. He goes back to the dig tree. But because Burke has left his little letters to the editor under the roots and covered it up like no one's been there, when Bra gets there, he thinks they haven't been here, but they were literally just there. And then he goes, well, I'm not dying for this ridiculous expedition, and goes back to Menindee. What a great beer. Burke and Wills, they're stuck down this creek bed and they lose their last camel, possibly from eating it, which means they don't have anything that can carry enough water to get them to Mount Hopeless. Beggars belief. So at that point, Wills is like, guys, I need to go back to the dig tree and leave my notes. And Burke is like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Sure, you go back there. So Willsy goes back on his own. Because Brahe, he's been there, but hasn't dug it up. Wills doesn't know that Bra was just there. They've literally, in the space of 24 hours, missed each other by a matter of hours each time. So Wills is back there. He leaves his note. Burke's a fucking idiot. None of us. Into the desert. Digs it up again, puts his note down on top of Burke's note, and then covers it up again. And that is the last time, tragically, that Wills will ever see the dig tree. And you know what? Wills is a champ. He is a champ. Good on him. Burke and King forge forward. And then it's only a couple of days after that that Burke himself is like, King, Kingity-ding, as I'm at my end, please let me enter the afterlife by sitting me against a tree with a gun in my hand so that I may meet my maker with a pistol. So on the 11th of September, a full year after this expedition has actually left Melbourne, 5 to 6 rescue parties were sent out to find this group of men that we ended up filling in most of the map. As a result of their complete idiocy, the map went from no fucking idea to, geez, we fucking nailed that. You know, at the end of this story, the people I feel most for, the Antawanta people that were already there, that could have just answered some questions. I feel for Wills. You know, I feel like Wills was he was trying his best. It's hard to not feel for Burke. Like, I think he was dumb, but I think he was just trying his best to find his way through it. I mean, it's hard. I look at it as a parent, right? It's hard to tell your kid when they're going to school, you don't need a Chinese gong.